Hello and welcome to this video broadly on the area of critical thinking, but looking specifically at the idea of argument and in particular how it is we can construct an argument in our own academic work. We know that when we're talking about an argument in this academic context, we are talking about a claim that is justified. A claim or a conclusion that you're putting forward, and the justification or the evidence, the supporting evidence that will help persuade the reader of that claim. When you will be given all of the endless assignments that you need to do at university, whether they be written, whether they be verbal, whether they be any number of different forms, we are more often than not being asked to put forward an argument. We're being asked to put forward a claim and to justify that claim with appropriate evidence. So when doing that, you want to be able to put forward a strong argument. A strong argument is one that the claim and the supporting premises, the statements within the argument that are there to support the claim, that they're acceptable, well, that they make sense. The reasons given to support the claim, so the evidence that you have to support the claim, is it reliable? Is it relevant? Is there enough of it? Is it sufficient? And then we move into the logic or the reasoning side of things in the argument. We have a claim, we think it makes sense, we have evidence, we think we have enough of it. We need to then connect these two together. Do they have meaning? Is there some logic behind it? The way that we look at these last 2 points here quite often is through the language that we use. So I'm going to spend some time at the end of this video talking about the language of argument. When it comes to constructing an argument in your own work, when we're thinking about our claim and the evidence that we have to support it, there are some questions to ask yourself. What is your claim? What is the conclusion you're trying to put forward? What is the point or the main points that you want to make? Genuinely ask yourself, why do you think this? Why do you think this claim or these claims are the right way to go? What are your reasons for thinking so? When you look at the reasons for thinking so, that's when you're going to be getting into your evidence. Do you have enough evidence to support the claim that you're making? Is it reliable? Is it relevant? And do you have enough of it? Does your answer need to be qualified in any way? When you think about all the evidence that you have that supports the claim you want to make, is there also evidence that might be pointing towards a different answer? Are there counter-arguments that you might need to engage with? When you think about the claim that you want to make, you think about your reasons for believing in that claim, play devil's advocate. Be the person who says, well, what about this? And what about this? And what about this? What are the counter-arguments or the debate or the differing opinions on the topic that you are constructing an argument in? Do you need to look at them? Do you need to address them? Do you need to offer evidence to refute them? What's really important, though, is that an academic argument, yes, it's a claim that is justified. The justification, obviously, that's where we see the evidence. Evidence on its own is not an argument. We accept or reject a claim because someone tells us what the relationship is between the evidence and the claim. And then we determine whether we think that relationship is strong or weak. So the reasoning plus evidence constitutes the argument. The reasoning or the logic. You want to make clear the link between the claim you're making and the evidence that you have to support it. How do we do it? We do it through the language of argument. What you want your writing to do is to show your reader whether you agree or disagree with an author that you're discussing. You want to be able to show your reader what your attitude is towards an author you're discussing, or a point that you're making, or an overall position that you are trying to take. I'm going to talk a little bit about the use of I in academic writing, because students always have questions on that. And then look at two really important areas of the language of argument: discourse markers and reporting verbs. So let's take a look. Students do often ask whether or not they should use I in their academic work. If you do, it is most likely something that we see only in the introduction, unless we're talking about a piece of written work that is asking you to reflect personally on an experience you've had, some observations you've made, some theory you've been engaging with. In reflective writing, we do tend to use I more so than in other genres of academic writing. But it's important to note that there are some disciplines and some lecturers, topic coordinators, tutors, who don't want to see I in your academic writing at all. A good rule of thumb is always to find out whether or not it is appropriate in the piece of work that you are undertaking that you're able to use I. If you are able to use I, though, I think it's really important in academic work to try and avoid phrases like "in my opinion" or "I think." It's more than just, I think or in my opinion. We want to be a little bit more formal than that. Instead of saying, in my opinion, this is a viable option, you can say, this is a viable option, and then give the reasons why you think so. Often students ask, where does my opinion go in an essay that I'm writing? Your opinion is throughout the essay. Every claim that you are putting forward and that you are justifying is your opinion. It's just a really well-informed opinion. So if you do use I in your written work, try and do so in a slightly more formal way. In this paper, I will discuss, I will argue, I will present, I will put forward, first I will demonstrate, this type of slightly more formal use of the word I. But what you can do is avoid I altogether. Here we've done exactly the same as the slide before, but we've simply changed the subject. Changed the subject from I to this paper discusses, this essay puts forward, this paper argues, the findings indicated. We've simply taken out I. Another way you can avoid I through language is to take the passive voice. It will be argued that 4 articles will be analysed. So instead of using the active voice, I will analyse 4 articles, we're simply saying 4 articles will be analysed. By who, you ask? Your marker will know, by you, because it is your piece of work they're looking at. In your academic writing, particularly when you're constructing an argument, you're going to be engaging with a number of authors or researchers in the field, all of the academic literature that you're reading. How we introduce the authors or the researchers that we're engaging with can go a really long way in helping us construct our argument, helping making clear to our reader what our attitude towards that particular piece of work is. Reporting verbs are things like Lopez says or Lopez argues. We're introducing a particular author here, a particular researcher, and we're saying they argue or they say. So if we use an example like according to Lopez or Lopez says, we're really just sort of stating it. We're not making any type of evaluation of what Lopez says, according to Lopez, or Lopez says. Simple, neutral. We can use reporting verbs, though, to indicate what we think of the idea that Lopez has been putting forward. If we say Lopez claims, what are we suggesting? There is a suggestion there, an implication that this is something that Lopez is claiming, not necessarily something that we agree with. Lopez suggests. Just suggesting it. Lopez concedes. Ooh, potentially against their will. If we say Lopez demonstrates, we are showing agreement with Lopez. We are telling our reader that we agree with the idea that we are putting forward here that we found in Lopez's work. They are demonstrating something. They're establishing something. If they're claiming something, that is not as strong as if they demonstrate something. So have a think about the way that you use your language, or the language choices that you make when you're introducing the work of other people into your argument, when you're introducing the evidence that you're engaging with to support the claims you're making. The other thing that's important just to touch on is discourse markers. Discourse markers, joining words or phrases, transition signals. There are a number of different ways that you can describe a range of words, very simple words, that allow you to indicate the logical connection between your ideas and the attitude that you have towards them. Let's have a look at what we mean. We want to show agreement with something. So we say, as indicated, as Smith indicates, further to, in support, as a consequence, furthermore, moreover. We are just using words here, words you're very familiar with, but what do? They help you construct your argument. If you disagree, you're saying in contrast, but, on the contrary, on the other hand, however. So what we're showing here is we're moving in a different direction. We might be saying, Lopez suggests A, however, Jones demonstrates B. And it's clear to our reader that we are agreeing with Jones and we are not agreeing with Lopez. Poor old Lopez. We might use some qualifying language despite this, although, in spite of, while, nevertheless, regardless of how many words we have here. I want to make it really clear to you, this isn't complex language. You know it all. It's just about using the right language. The language of argument goes a long way in helping you construct persuasive claims with the evidence that you have to support them. The best thing you can do in this area is grab a copy of the Student Learning Support Services Guide using the right language that will go through some of the things I've talked about here and offer you a lot of examples that you can incorporate into your own work. You can find this guide on the Student Learning Support Service website, web page within the Flinders website and through our Flow site. Remember, all students are enrolled into the Student Learning Support Services Flow site. You'll have it there under your topics on Flow. And that's where you can find all of the resources that will help you in your academic work. And in this case, help you hopefully construct some strong and persuasive arguments. Thank you.